welcome to Spill the Petals. I am Jackie Lacey, and I am here with my trusty sidekick,
Renato Sogecco. How you guys doing?
and we are happy to be back with you again. And have been working on a lot of upcoming podcasts and getting guests lined up for you. And we were talking with all of this going on with sustainability and the generational gap.
Mm-hmm.
We thought it was about time that we talked about how old are you?
And just for the record, I am a Generation Xer.
And I am barely a baby boomer. I just want to clarify that.
Well, I think that's good context because every generation, I believe, sees things from a different perspective. And that's what we wanted to talk about today is the fact that when we were talking about sustainability, we were talking, well, does everyone have the same sentiment towards sustainability? Mm-hmm. And that's not, the truth. So for this podcast, we'd like to share with you a lot of the insights that we've gathered really over the past couple of years with all the demographic data that we've acquired and share a little bit of that insight with you today.
Well, we think it's important because we've looked at a lot of it. And yes, there are traditional groups are broken down by age when it comes to the generational gap, and the way that you market and sell to each of these is a little bit different. But you also have a lot of crossover from group to group. As you get to the fringes of that age bracket, you will find some people that clearly identify with the next younger, or even sometimes the next older. And then what's really interesting, as you move through those generational divides, they start to revert back to some of the ways of the older groups. So it's really confusing is what we're trying to say.
Well, Jackie, I won't put us on the spot, but what I'll do right now, because this is the magic of video, I'll put on right now on the screen, you'll see a breakout of who a traditionalist is, who a boomer is, who an Xer is, two groups of millennials that will identify. And then we have the folks that are younger than millennials. What are they called again,
Those
Jackie?
are called Z.
Zers.
And we've also heard the Zers called the Alpha group because they've gone through all the letters and they're starting back over with Alpha. So you might find some that identify with both of those names.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and I have friends that are just like on the fringe or on the edges of those groups. And it's interesting since I have a lot, I've acquired a lot of this knowledge. They do have traits of sometimes both these groups, So it's really been interesting having now knowing this demographic data, and I see it applied in real life.
Well, I think maybe we should talk a little bit about why we think it's important to understand the difference. And everyone always asks, so what is that group's age bracket? And what is that group's age bracket? And again, it changes from one to the other. But because they do have very different ways that they were brought up and the way that they identified, they also shop differently. And that's really what we wanted to make sure you had the information, because if you market to each of the groups by just slightly changing things a little bit, but the big difference is the platform on which you're going to market to them. And that's really what it comes down to. You want to make sure that you send the right message to the right group in the right method.
So just adding to what Jackie just shared, this will obviously be a very digital heavy conversation, and how
over my head
and how the different generations respond or use all these different platforms, because it does make a difference. And we've been talking about that for quite some time. So we already have a solid idea of who uses what and why. So that's a bit of what we're going to convey.
So why don't we first run down kind of like we talked about the names of each group. Want to talk about the age bracket at all within each of those groups?
Well, that's why I threw up that chart, because I'm not too sure of the exact ages. I mean, we have a very good idea of what they are. So the traditionalists, those would be my grandparents, and those would be
my parents.
Your parents.
Right.
So are we going to reveal our age? So we can give them
I
content.
embrace we get older or
Yeah.
not. Those are
Yeah.
the only two choices. So I embrace that. And I just turned 61.
I'm in my
So,
early 50s, so I'm an Xer. And then
and I am a baby boomer by
Yeah.
that 1 year.
yeah, so the Xers, I think they started at 1970.
Yeah, and I think the baby boomer wraps up at 63.
Okay.
Yes, I'm pretty sure it's 63, 64, somewhere right around in there. So, which would start then down to your group, and then the millennials now are getting a little
Oh,
older. They're getting up there
they're
now.
getting up there now.
Where
Yeah,
we
for
used
sure.
to talk about them being the
The
younger
younger, yeah.
generation, they're actually now parents. They're
Mhm.
starting to buy homes, and that was one of the things that we found was very interesting. That the older millennial group, as they continue to get older, suddenly start to turn into their parents and grandparents, and start looking at some of the baby boomer ways. They want to save a little bit. They want to buy a home, buy a car. The younger millennials are like, nope, can't afford a house, can't afford
Well,
a
they were still
car
in
unless
school.
they
They're
stay
still
at their
living with the
parents,
parents.
yeah, or living with some of their grandparents. So that's what we were talking about, the difference between each of these groups and the way that you want to understand the age
Mhm.
bracket doesn't necessarily mean everything. It's more about the message
Mhm.
and the platform that you're going to send that message on. And I have to refer to this one when
no
it
worries.
comes to that technical stuff.
So speaking of platforms, the traditionalists, where do you find them? Believe it, they're on Facebook. And the reason why they're on Facebook is because, well, a lot
Because
of
their
boomers,
grandkids
yeah, the
taught them how.
grandkids, yeah, the grandkids who are millennials, got them on Facebook, and that's one way that the traditionalists and boomers are keeping, in touch and up to date with their children's lives and their grandchildren's lives, because a lot of the older millennials, they actually started on Facebook. So when Facebook was a thing back in the 1990s, they were in college. And if you know any of the history behind Facebook, that's how it started, as a college, or a way for college people to communicate with one another. So as you know, Mark Zuckerberg, they started that while they were in school, and it kind of emanated from there. So they were used to it. And I would say, just keeping on the Facebook track, boomers are staunchly on Facebook as well, for all the same reasons. But one thing that I know about, a handful of those boomers, you're on Instagram,
Even TikTok.
even there you go, even TikTok, and it's just because you're still young enough, to understand that that's, a strong communication median. And I'll speak for Xers. I mean, we have our foot in kind of these two camps. So I definitely have a Facebook account, but I definitely have an Instagram account. And now like you, I'm creeping in to TikTok as well. And like I just said, Facebook is still the realm of those older millennials. Like those are the ones like older than 32 years old, I would say, and they're now
Right.
42. So in that decade between 32 and 42 is where you'll find those older millennials. So Facebook, in terms of a marketing tool, is still an awesome tool, because although you may hear accounts of, well, boomers are not your primary market anymore, and a lot of that may be coming from us and from me in particular. Oops, 1 second. It's still a platform that has 3 billion people on it.
Right.
I mean, that's a huge number.
Well, you really look at the traditionalists use Facebook more as a communication tool, because they're communicating with the younger generations. Baby boomers start to creep into, they use it not just for communication tool, but an advertising tool. That's really kind of, Facebook has gone more to the business and how to communicate with each other, find out what's going on, keep up with schedules and things like that. Then with the Xers and moving into the millennials, that's where they start to use the platforms more as shopping.
Correct. Yes. And the data supports that. A lot of the social commerce that you hear, that was supposed to be here like 2 or 3 years ago. It's still a little bit delayed, but I think a lot of that had to do with COVID. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think that threw a monkey wrench in kind of these
But don't you think that
these
kind of
ads.
like pushed us ahead in the communication skills,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
but then
Yeah. Yeah.
pulled us back when it came to sales and marketing?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So I believe that will be a thing
Yeah.
very soon. Social commerce, and the people that will head it will be still boomers, definitely Xers like me,
Mhm.
and definitely those older, millennials, because did I mention? It was funny. The reason why I was smiling when you were talking about how all these millennials had to be now adults. There's that term out there, adulting, #adulting,
Mhm.
and that's what millennials call that phenomenon. Where, oh my God, now I have to raise a kid, or oh
Right.
no, I have to buy a house to fill it with kids, and that's a phenomenon that I think they labeled it. But anyway, so now we've talked about the older millennials, the Xers, what they use. Should we go move
We
on to
should move
younger
on to the younger
Mhm.
millennials and to the Gen Z,
Gen Zers? Yeah, yeah,
or Alpha Group, which takes it to a whole nother platform.
yeah, definitely. So when we're talking about those younger millennials, it's staunchly Instagram. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of them do use Facebook, but that's only out of obligation to keep their parents or their grandparents in tune with their with their happenings. But the real way that they communicate with the world is through Instagram,
Right.
very much so. So, and some of them even use only Instagram. So if you want to reach that generation, and now what's happening with them is like, before we used to say don't market to them because they have no money. But guess what? They now have money.
Because they get it from us, take it from you. So they really have all of our money.
Yeah, they have everyone's money, or they soon will have everyone's money. But they are now out of college. They're starting their, their careers. They have that money because they don't have kids yet. So they're a great demographic to really market heavily to.
Well, and then what about Snapchat?
Snapchat, and this is part fact, but part anecdotal. Okay, the anecdotal part is that my own kid uses Snapchat, but it's really purely to communicate with one another. Because if you're not familiar with Snapchat, it's a platform where you would post something and then it would disappear in 24 hours. So it's really
Mhm.
like in real time kind of communication. So as a business, I would be very reluctant to invest any time in Snapchat because, nothing stays on there, as opposed to Instagram or Facebook. You post it, it's out there forever potentially. So yeah, I'm glad that you raised Snapchat because I didn't realize it was still a thing with younger people, but it is.
It is, yeah. And they say that it is going to be around, but just like you said, it doesn't hang around
Yeah.
for very often. So I agree with Renato. You don't want to invest too much time, but you do want to be aware that it's there.
Yeah. So we'll keep moving down the scale or down the age, and when we get to our younger folks as well as those younger millennials, they're both using or starting to adopt TikTok. But I mean, I think TikTok is one of those mediums that um, more and more people are adopting it. I mean,
Mhm.
like as you said, you're adopting
Yeah.
it just because it's such
Still
a
don't really understand it, but I have to.
but it's a fun platform, right? The
It's
videos are
very
like
entertaining.
very entertaining, and that's what sometimes it's all about.
Well, don't you think it's kind of because they do get entertained with what's going on, get caught up in that, and it's more of like an impulse buy when they are able to buy something
Mhm.
or see something. So it's kind of like standing in line when you actually go into a brick and mortar store and you're standing in line. They have everything right there in that line that they
Just
want
picking
you
it
to
out.
buy because
Yeah.
those are all the high margin
No,
that's
absolutely.
in there, and they want to entice you with that. Sort of the same thing, I think, for TikTok.
Well,
It's
that's a
here,
great
I'm caught
metaphor.
up,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
oh, that's fun.
yeah.
Let me
That's
take
fun.
that.
Yeah.
Before you know what you're doing, you've bought a lot. Why does that make a difference for us?
It does make a difference because it's just the amount of time that
Mhm.
people spend in front of a phone, and it's just a crazy amount of time. So I'm proud to say that I intentionally put down the phone, like during meals or during whatever. But a lot of people don't, especially the young kids. I mean, how many times have you had to insist on, like, say, your children or someone who's younger, you could put down the phone. I'm like right here. We have that. I think the older generations, and this is totally like just from my perspective, and it may even sound judgmental, but I feel it's like almost a disrespect,
Mhm.
for people to have a phone at dinner, for example.
But there are
Yeah.
reports that say the younger generation is wanting to take back some of that time
Perhaps,
that they
yeah.
have given to phones. Like we were, with my generation, we played outside. We didn't sit in front of the television. We enjoyed being out in nature. And then everyone kind of came indoors with playing games, and technology was new and everyone wanted to be part of it. And then now they're starting to make that separation because the older millennials are actually requiring that they put down their phones, that the
good.
kids spend some
Yeah.
time away,
Yeah.
because they saw how much they lost from that separation, and they didn't want their children to lose that, and that seems to be sticking. So there is hope out there yet.
Well, it's nice that we have that perspective, and we have that perspective just because Jackie and I share friendships with a lot of these older millennials. So I know that's anecdotal, but we definitely see that
Mhm.
behavior confirmed. But just a quick thing about smartphones. That's sort of like the great equalizer. We talked about how boomers are adopting TikTok. We're talking about how like extras like me are still in tune, and it's all because of the smartphone. It's like one of those devices that is a de facto thing. The only people that don't use smartphones are, guess who? The traditionalists. You know, you may check, but they may have that flip phone still out there somewhere because they're the only ones that really use that device. But um, and then the other thing that emanates from using a smartphone, and this is like a critical thing in marketing, and then we could talk about this. I want your thoughts on it, but it captures video. Why is TikTok so huge? Why is YouTube so huge? Why do you see more video on Facebook? It's because now you have a device in your pocket purse that you whip out and you take a quick video. So I mean, I know that that's something that we talk about all the time, on the importance of, like, as a marketer, photos are great. I mean, you get wonderful posts, but the stats are, this is a stat, video garners 10 times at least more engagement than a photo post.
Well, I think a lot of it comes from before you had to travel with a camera or a video
right.
cam.
All these
So you had
devices.
to have both of them. All of that's been combined now, and it's right at your fingertips. So it's easy just to grab it and shoot some footage really quickly. And we're all getting really comfortable with that. And you see it everywhere. You see it at a concert. Instead of being in the moment, people have their phones out, they're recording it, they're paying attention to that little square rather than what's going on right in front of them. And I think that there's a big push to be in the moment, to absorb what's going on, to spend that time with each other right here. And it's great to have that technology, but you do have to put it to the side sometimes and really go with what's going on. But we wanted to make sure that we talked about all of this so that we could provide you guys with that real rough, fun breakdown. We're not making fun of any of the groups or poking fun at anyone. We wanted to give you the information. And let's just run through again really quickly when it comes to traditionalists and baby boomers.
Facebook.
And when it comes to Gen Z.
Gen Z, then you're talking TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
I threw them. It's going to Z instead of X.
X.
And then X and older millennials.
X. We use everything because we have to. We're the stepchild that's out there that, in order for us to
participate. That caused all the problems.
Maybe.
Yeah, no, they did. They caused all the problems.
But
boomers are going to always blame it on this.
We use everything.
And then for the younger millennials,
Younger millennials, definitely Instagram. Yeah, definitely Instagram. But
so get
I'm sorry,
comfortable
yeah.
with it. Make sure that you're on top of
Mhm.
it, because slight changes in your
It's gonna happen,
message
yeah.
is going to resonate with the group if you're hitting them
Yeah.
on the right platform. And that's really what we wanted to share with you more than anything else, is that it's something that you can't, it's
Mhm.
not a one size fits all anymore.
Mhm, mhm.
We have to look at advertising for at least 5 of those groups. And remember, as the Gen Z or Alpha group continues to evolve
Grow
and
up.
grow, that they're quickly going to take over that buying group from the millennials, because there were a lot of millennials, so many that they had to have 2 groups, that it's going to make that next group grow even faster.
Absolutely. So, we really just skim the surface here, but promise we'll dive deeper into a lot of these strategies in future podcasts. So stay tuned.
And remember, we always try to provide something with what's going on in the industry, technology, customer service, and design. We try to hit one of those topics with each of these that we do. So we hope that you'll continue to stay with us and check back again. Anything else that we want to share?
No, thanks so much for joining. So you could catch us on Apple Podcasts, but this is obviously video if you're watching. So you'll catch us. We will always post these podcasts on YouTube and Facebook as well. So
And
see
we
you soon.
appreciate all of you. So glad you're here. And remember, there's no use crying over spilled petals.